I am Carrie Campbell, and I am one of the Profit Network coaches with the Dog Gurus. Today, I am joined with four of our other Profit Network coaches: Anna Radel from Fieldstone Animal Inn in Maryland, Courtney Emkin, who is in Georgetown, Texas, Shante Marquez, who is in Dripping Springs, Texas, and Ed Kazmarek, who has Urban Pooch in Chicago, Illinois. And yay, Mikey is confirming she can see and hear us. So,
yay, Mikey.
If you are new to the Dog Gurus and don't know much about us, we are a pet care business that consults with business owners, and we also have staff training. We like to see businesses launch, grow, and profit. So we have different training programs for each of those areas, depending on what stage you're at with your business. Today, we are all here to answer some questions for you if you want to drop them in the chat, but we're also here to just look at 2023 in review and take a look at what we have from our perspective in our own businesses, as well as the clients that we work with and the Profit Network program. So just kind of discussing what has worked and what hasn't worked. I know one thing that I will start off by saying, because I know it's a hot topic right now, and that is the news media picking up the story about this mystery dog illness, and how that has definitely been a challenge, because the news coverage has been basically telling people at the end of the segments that, don't board your pet this holiday season, which is a direct impact for all of the pet care facility owners out there. So knowing that, we have done some proactive work to help. We sent out a message that was a letter for you to use, just kind of a generic form that you could change for your pet care business to notify your clients. That went out to our Profit Network members, and we are doing a webinar next Tuesday at 2:30 Eastern. And if you sign up for that webinar, you could also get a copy of that letter. So just helping you to prepare pet parents, letting them know what you do in your facility as far as how you clean and disinfect, how you prepare your staff, and making sure that your facility is ready and a healthy environment for their dogs to lodge over the holiday season. So that's
and in there, if they do sign up for the webinar and they watch it, they will actually get a certificate that they can show to their clients. They can put up in their reception area saying that they attended the webinar and showing that you are doing all the extra steps that you can do to make it as safe as possible for the pets in your care.
That's awesome. Thanks for adding that, Shante. Ed and Shante, Ed and Anna, since you both still actively run your facilities, what have you seen in the last week or two since those news articles came out, as far as reactions from your clients?
Well, our daycare right now is down 20%, where we've noticed that people have just pulled back, and we're going on day 7 of being down 20%. During Thanksgiving lodging, we had about 10% of people pull back their lodging reservations. We've seen a couple of training students cancel classes because, they're concerned. And we have no cases in Illinois that are confirmed. So, and we've communicated that with everyone. We do think that we're going to give it another week. And we think after another week, because nothing is going on, right now in Illinois, that we expect that people will, start to trickle back. And we've stayed in communication with them, reinforcing that, everything's safe.
Awesome.
That's great.
How about you, Anna?
I'm pretty lucky, actually. We haven't seen much of a blip at all yet. And so I don't know if it's because we're so far away from where they've had cases on the West Coast, or if it's definitely hitting. We're definitely answering questions about it all the time. The vets are inundated with questions, but we've only had 3 clients pull back from daycare that I know of. We've been keeping record, no lodging dogs, but this is not a big lodging time for me. Normally between Thanksgiving and Christmas is not a big lodging time for us. So right now we're about where we would normally. Thanksgiving, we were fine. So we're lucky. I don't know what the rhyme or reason is for that, but we've not seen it yet, but that doesn't mean we're not going to.
Right. I'm going to post a couple of, let me get here. links in the chat. This one is to the AVMA in Oregon, and that organization, because Oregon is one of the states that has had a significant number. I mean, it's over 200, which if you look at the number of cases that have been reported in the last, 6-8 months, it is not huge. We're not looking at millions of dogs that have been sick. It's a pretty small number, but because it's novel, it's something that we haven't seen. They weren't really able to identify it until recently. That from that standpoint, a state that has 20 cases is something that's definitely more remarkable than a state that has 1 or 2. So the Oregon response has been really good. Also, the response from the University of New Hampshire has been really good, and I will get that link going as well. So, but other than that, what other things have worked and not worked over the course of 2023?
Well, I can speak for my client, Ben. He wrote to me from Woodley Acres in Indian Head, Saskatchewan, and he said that he felt like the strategy and the staffing help and just providing that needed support in this really busy, constantly changing pet industry environment has been really helpful as far as having a dedicated coach to work with and being able to be on some of the group calls with the other people in our community. That all of that has really been helpful for him.
That's great.
So that's good to hear.
I have a fun story. So I had a client that we needed to increase her prices, and she was very, as I think a lot of business owners, very fearful to do that because of the backlash, or just feeling like, you're taking advantage of your clients, but you're not, because everything's gone up and you need to raise your prices. But she was also giving discounts, that multi-pet discount. And it took me a while to convince her to stop doing that multi-pet discount. And finally she was like, okay, I'm going to try it. She took it away, and she said not one client actually even said a thing to her about it. No, and she was so scared that she was going to upset so many people, but it is saving her thousands throughout the year, that multi-pet discount, and nobody even noticed.
Yeah.
It was a huge success.
Wow.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. So,
Me too.
Yep.
Me
I
too.
can share, one of my clients had she's in North Carolina, and she's been with us for 2 years. And when I first met her, she couldn't even have dinner without her phone ringing. I literally met with her and was like, okay, this is crazy. You've got to stop doing this. And her poor husband was like really frustrated. And she went from that to this year taking multiple, and she has 2 facilities, and she took multiple vacations where they couldn't even get a hold of her, and things are going well. And so I just thought that was so amazing that she just did a whole change and feels that freedom now.
Yeah, that's a big testament.
Yeah.
Oh, so Diane said, so it's not worth having multiple pet discounts? No.
No.
Correct. That is correct. It's
I
not
don't
worth it.
give any discount.
Yeah, I didn't give any discounts. And when you go to the vet or when you go to Petco, do they give multi-pet discounts? No.
You have 2 dogs and you have to buy 2 different kinds of food. Are they giving you 25% off that extra bag of food for the second dog?
And you have to remember that what you're selling isn't real estate, you're selling care. And the care that you're giving is equally as good to that second pet or that third pet. So it's costing you the same amount, if not more, because there's more than one pet in a family. Sometimes you have to divide those pets so that they can eat without fighting, or one gobbling the other one's food. And so there's more labor involved usually when it's more than one pet. Just because it's less real estate doesn't mean it's less work.
Yeah,
and I would say I can't think of one industry that does give you those kinds of discounts. If I make a hotel room for my family of 4 and we need 2 rooms, I don't get a discount on the second room. There's so many examples like that. I can't think of any industry. My childcare, I had 2 kids in daycare. I didn't get a discount for that either. So
Yeah.
I don't think that, there's something about, I think historically dog people are so touchy-feely. We feel like we need to do things for them and make it better and offer all these discounts. And people, because it's not like a commodity, maybe they think, oh, it's okay, you can just give us a discount. I actually have a similar story as Shantae's client. A couple of years ago when I joined Dog Gurus, I didn't raise prices. I just got rid of a lot of discounts, and we made it was unbelievable, the impact on us financially.
Yeah.
And no one cared.
Because I took it away from after listening to Robin and Susan, the Dog Gurus, I think I told Robin, in one of our Q&A meetings, I said, yeah, so I just did my numbers and I've given $60,000 away in discounts. And she practically choked. So after that, I decided the next year, this was at the end of the year we were talking, and I just started chipping away and taking away all those discounts. And like I said, like nobody really even noticed. It wasn't a big deal at all. So yeah, $60,000 a year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Before we joined the Dog Gurus, many, many years ago, we were doing so many discounts, and our packages, our highest package was at, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
A 30 discount. And I'm thinking like I could have an extra home with the money that we lost for like 6 years before finally, Robin and Susan said, who told you that you need to give those big discounts? And, it's crazy what we think we need to do. And then suddenly you start, chipping away and getting rid of things. And you're like, why are people not complaining?
Right.
It really, really is. And it has to be like the single most valuable thing is, and realizing that every year it's okay to take pricing on some things. It's just good not to take pricing every year on everything.
Right.
And that was also a valuable lesson.
I'm going to put Mikey's question up here because we are kind of answering it right now. But she's asking, oh, it's scrolling. That's strange. Are package prices considered discounts too? They save a little money if they buy more.
They certainly are. Yeah. And I told you the 35%. Our biggest discount we give now is 5.5%.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I would say that you definitely want to, well, if you're wanting to sell more packages to get that buy-in for your daycare, I mean, again, it's all about your motivation, what you want to achieve and what you want to gain. And so if you really want to, pick up those numbers, giving a really nominal discount like that, or adding in some benefits, that don't cost you so much, like with our membership, they get 30 days, up to 30 days in advance, they can get a spot over the holidays, things like that. So I do think that you can do that, and it makes it seem, but I'm just like you, I think our biggest discount for our packages might be 5%.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and then I will add in there, because I see this a lot with business owners where they will give like a daycare package where, they'll offer a daycare package and they won't put an expiration date on it, or they'll put an expiration date like 6 months. The whole purpose of offering that daycare package is to promote them to go frequently in order to get that discount, right? So you need to put like a 30-day expiration day, maybe 60 days, but really, yeah, see, look, they're all
guilty.
30.
We just got rid of unlimited package timing 3 years ago. And now we do 45 days.
Yeah.
Which we feel good about.
2 questions or 2 statements on that. And the first is that the reason that is so important is because whenever you sell something that is prepaid, that goes on your books as a liability. So you don't want to carry that liability year over year. And where that came, I had a 90-day expiration date at the time that COVID hit. And where I lived, my city closed facilities down, and we were closed for 6 weeks. And then there was like the whole, you're going to get the PPP loans, blah, 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 blah. All of that started to compound. And we were like, are we actually going to be able to reopen? And I'm looking at $52,000 of prepaid packages sitting on my books thinking, oh my God, how would I pay that back? So that's why you really just don't want that liability. The purpose of having a bigger package is, like I said, getting that cash flow and having dogs coming more frequently to really stimulate your daycare program. The other thing is what I noticed too was when I made the announcement, when I got rid of my last discount years ago, is that I basically said, we're not raising our prices right now. We just can no longer afford to give you the steep discounts we have been offering. It is not fiscally, proper for us to actually maintain that level of discount because it's hurting our cash flow, which, just rolling over, definitely changes how we can pay our staff, and you've come to expect a certain level of care quality and blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot behind it, but just kind of mentioning that you can no longer afford to give those steep discounts is a great way to let your pet parents know. And Caitlin was saying they do a cash discount. So they basically marked up their overall prices to help cover the credit card fees. But if the pet parents pay in cash, they save the 3% discount. So it's essentially what they would have been paying in the credit card fees anyway. It's been really popular, and parents appreciate the little savings on their end, and they aren't out anything. So that's a great way to do it. So
I love that instead of tacking on the fee. That's such a Caitlin, I love that you're doing that rather than charging an extra fee for credit cards. I love that.
Yeah. So Mark is saying no discounts for us. Clients from other daycares always ask, but they do have a pickup and drop off. So that's great. Some alternatives there. But, a lot of times when you have those pet parents that come in from another facility and you want to know why you don't offer something that somebody else does, we often just say, we're very transparent. Feel free to take a look around. We'll give you a full tour of our facility. We'll explain to you how we train our staff, the knowledge that we put into the services we provide. And a lot of times that sells them right there on the fact that you don't give a discount, because they're paying more, but they're getting a lot more. So, or they're paying maybe the same and they're just not getting the discount.
Yeah.
So
it really all boils down to how much you value yourself and how much you value the services that you provide. And if you don't think you're worth very much, then you're going to feel like you have to give a discount, or else people won't like you or use your business. When you realize that what you're offering is really superior to your competition, you don't have to give a discount. You have to say, I'm worth it.
Courtney, you bring up a very good point. And, it's something that, we at the Dog Gurus always work with all of our clients on. It is so critically important to know how much it costs you to do each of your services, so you can then understand what you need to charge, also to allow for profit in there, because we're not running nonprofits, and we all want to make money. And part of that first step of making money is knowing all of your costs and expenses and how that fits into the formula of what you're charging to your clients.
I think back to when Robin and Susan first would say, that whole cost plus profit pricing model is that, if you're not really taking a look at what your true costs are, and you're just saying, oh, well, Joe Schmo down the street is charging $50 a day, this person's charging $35 a day, so I'm going to come in right at like $42.50, or try to hit it in the middle somewhere. But you don't know if either of them are profitable, because you don't know what their costs are. So the only way for you to really be profitable is to determine what your true costs are, and then from there add what profit margin you want on top of that. So
I'd like to speak to some of the owners that are going to be on here. So all of us on this panel have been in the industry a long time and we've gotten to the point where we're very comfortable and confident in our services and in our businesses, and we've built good reputations. And so I think that often in the beginning, you're not so confident and you're trying so hard to I remember when I was trying to grow my daycare from 0 dogs, I would give I would have a special buy one, get one free package. Like, it's crazy. That never made any sense, but it was to build up, our daycare. And so I just want people to understand that if you're thinking that and you're listening to us right now thinking, oh, I can't do that, I can't afford to do that. Understand it takes time, that you're farther ahead than we were at that time, because we didn't have people telling us this back then. And just understand that, it's also a lot easier to lower prices than increase prices. So if you're just starting out, just like Ed and Kara are saying, get the prices right from the beginning, because if you get in there and you're like, oh, we're undercharging, you can't do much about that. It's a fight to get back up. So I always think it's better to go down than up.
Absolutely.
And that makes me think of one other challenge that business owners might be facing when they decide to increase prices or take away discounts, is getting your staff on board to believe in that and to back you up and to confidently be able to promote the new prices or whatever it is. But do you guys have any advice on that, on how to talk to your staff about it?
Yeah, I would just say it's really common for pet care staff and admin staff to have sort of a poverty mentality. And so they they shop with their own wallets and they think that they can't afford our services. So how would other people be able to afford our services? But if you help them realize that there are people out there that have wallets that are very different from yours and mine, and they'll be happy to pay for those services. But not only that, just helping them understand that those added increases in your charges for your services, those help pay for raises for your employees. And all of them want raises. So they need to, figure out on the scale that that's how that happens. We increase prices, you get a raise. Like, it all comes together when they start to realize that they physically benefit from those increases.
I used to tell my staff, the people who sell Mercedes-Benz can't always afford to buy them.
Right.
And so,
Right.
we are very similar, and we're selling to a high-end client pet owner. And so many of my staff would not be able to afford it, but that doesn't mean that we can't sell it and it's not that, worth that much.
Right.
So one of the things that we did early on was to allow staff to bring their dogs to daycare, but they were limited, when space became an issue and we ended up on a wait list, but we always had room that they could bring their dog twice a week, but the dog had to go through the same evaluation process as everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
It always seemed that the majority of our staff had dogs that were not daycare appropriate. It's like these people who want to work with animals are the ones that go ahead and rescue the dog that nobody else wants, so you're dealing with some kind of behavioral issue. One of the things that was great was that early on when we were traditional daycare, we would have one night, like after we closed, where staff could bring their dogs and we would do a very small staff dog interaction. But they got to see what it was like for the dogs that were in daycare to really enjoy themselves. But it was definitely on their dog's terms, unless their dog really had like a dog to dog aggression issue. And then, once we started doing enrichment, then we would have some enrichment sessions for their dog so that their dog could experience it and they knew what it was like to have their dog go through the daycare program. So that gave them the perspective of what the value was that the clients were seeing. I mean, I had my business 17 years before I had a dog that actually liked going there. And when I got Newton, my first Frenchie, he was like, I love this daycare thing. And he came home so tired. I'm like, now I know why my clients love daycare so much. I'm just always rescuing the weirdos that have issues.
Amen.
Yeah. My shepherds are always the worst behaved. Totally misbehaved.
Yeah.
I mean, Carrie's met them. They're nuts. But, if I don't take them to work, my husband comes home and he's like, how many hours were they at daycare today? And they don't play with other dogs. They just run around barking at everyone else's. But, I totally love that too. To get us back to the year-end stuff, I was just going to say, I know you asked about good things and bad things, and I can't imagine that any pet owner or facility owner this year didn't have challenges with finding employees and keeping them. And I just have to say, it's been a long year of hiring and firing. And this time last year, I lost 6 employees at one time. And it's interesting, I was talking to one of my clients and I realized, I think, and I don't want to speak too prematurely, I think we're seeing the turnaround. I know for us, we just hired 8 more people in the last few weeks and we're finding better candidates. And so I don't know if you guys are seeing it, but we are definitely seeing a slowdown on the turnover and better candidates.
That's great.
I don't know, are you seeing that, Ed?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're seeing the same thing, but it's funny. We're like, oh, we have the A team now, right. And then there's always something that happens, which I don't say that like I'm complaining, just that you have to be kind of Hakuna Matata about it all. But like we had one person go out with a kidney stone that has to have 3 surgeries. We had this happen to this one. And, but the good thing, or the challenging thing, it's happening as we've had this 20% decline in daycare. So it actually works out fine because we have a couple less people, but we have some less dogs. So it'll all be fine. And it, that's the one thing. It always somehow works out, and it, but I do think we're definitely seeing better solid people that really want careers in the pet care industry. And we really dig for that because we're not, in for people being in a job, 4 or 5 months and then, just switching because they're bored.
Yeah. And someone asked about Applicant Pro. We use Applicant Pro. Do you use that, Ed?
Yeah, we use Applicant Pro as well.
We did too.
Yeah, I responded that there's several members of the Profit Network program who use Applicant Pro, and several use Indeed as well. But Applicant Pro has some excellent screening tools, and they seem to draw in just a little bit different candidates.
Yeah.
They actually put those posts on Indeed and on Monster and the other tools. So you still get that coverage. You get more with Applicant Pro. Not that I get anything for saying that, and I don't know if it's okay for us to say that, but although we should, right? But I will say we have really dove into using their tools because we have several people looking at the applicants and interviewing, and so we really put all of the response. We used to do by paper, and now we're putting it all into Applicant Pro. It makes it so much easier if someone reapplies. So I'm a big fan.
And
and they help rewrite your job descriptions,
job ads
for job ads. Thank you, Courtney. Job ads, so they're not getting stale. And the good thing is they have the experience across many different industries that really feed in to give you the best job ad, to drive the greatest, connection.
Yeah, I think they do a really good job with that job description, because they really paint the picture of the experience of working with the pets versus here's a job, here's the qualifications, here's what you need, here's your duties that you're going to be doing. I mean, they really paint the picture and they sell the job for you and make it sound so exciting and fun versus you're getting a job,
Right, versus all rules and
yeah.
And check those reviews of your business. Remember, those websites have people that write reviews of you as an employer. So make sure you're keeping an eye on those.
Yeah, absolutely. Employees aren't nice when they go to review companies most of the time.
It's never your happy employee that's been with you for 10 years, right?
Yeah, and if you've got reviews that aren't great, don't be afraid to ask some of your current employees to review your business. The ones that are happy and doing great, just ask if they'll do a review so that it looks a little bit better on paper.
Yep.
Glassdoor is one of those sites that you don't want to go on unless you're feeling good about yourself.
I've never been on it.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Here it comes.
So I will share something, just kind of what worked, what didn't work. I have a client who's been in the Profit Network program for 4 years now. And we just spent our first call literally sharing a screen on a Google Calendar and doing a bunch of calendar blocking for her, because although she's been in the program for so long, really setting that time for her to have, I'm working from home this day. Put that on your calendar and block out times where they can't talk to you at all. If you're going to go do something fun, play pickleball, whatever, put that on your calendar. Just put everything there so that your time is organized and you're not going to miss things. And even if it's just for the next 20 minutes, this is my, I'm checking email, voicemail, time block, So that was really exciting to see that she's taking charge of her calendar a little bit more, even after being in the program for a while. So
I have to say, I'm scared to do that. I have this fear. I couldn't figure out. I have a fear of commitment. I apparently do, because I'll go through. I mean, if I have an appointment, it goes in there, but I'm so reluctant to put in workout or off, riding, whatever. So good for her, because I think it's a hard thing mentally for me to do.
Yeah, I would put it on my calendar and then ignore it. If it was something that was just for me, I would just not do it.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, again, it goes back to feeling worthy.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's true. I always feel like, something's gonna come up. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I'll give some feedback that was kind of hard to hear this week. One of my clients said that just with the change in ownership this year over with the dog gurus, that it just feels a little bit different, that maybe it's not as touchy-feely as it used to be, or the email marketing, the emails that they're getting aren't as upbeat, or they don't motivate them as much to want to try new things. And, it's kind of hard to swallow, but it's good to get that feedback and know that there are always ways that we can improve and do a better job. So I thought that was interesting and felt like it was important to share.
Well, change is always difficult for everyone to go through. So whenever you have a change like this, it is a it's just transition, right? Change is just
Mhm.
uncomfortable. But the
Mhm.
one thing that I think all of us coaches have talked to our Profit Network clients about is that Robin and Susan did what they have taught all of us to do. And that was they built a very successful business and they sold it. So they created their exit strategy. We're fortunate that Susan is still working with us, but Robin is really enjoying the retired life. And who doesn't want that when you're ready to exit, to be able to really enjoy what your retirement is and benefit from all of this hard work that you put into your facility. So I know it's different. And whenever change happens, there's going to be a different feel. So, we all have to
Mhm.
kind of go through is that the tone of things change. But I know that we've got a lot of fun stuff on the horizon. So
Yes.
there's definitely, and it's giving us coaches more face time with people. So that's kind of fun that we're able to do more of the Facebook lives and things that letting people know how big our organization is and the experience of the different coaches and members that we have. So
Yeah.
on that note, Shantae, do you want to talk about the live event coming up?
I was just thinking that. So, yeah, we are doing a live event in person in Aurora, Colorado, April 9th through the 11th, which you're all invited to come. We would love it if you join us. It is going to be a workshop format. And that means that we're going to have a lot of breakout sessions where we're actually going to be working on stuff with you. And there's going to be a ton of great speakers, including the Profit Network coaches are going to be there speaking. And we have a keynote speaker, Amber Bruckhalter, is going to be there speaking. And she's going to be talking about nurturing your team with positive reinforcement, which I think is going to be fantastic. But it's going to be 3 days of just really valuable information that you're going to walk away with totally inspired and have actionable items to implement into your business to make it better, give your life back, and make it more profitable.
Yep. Awesome.
I'm
Yay.
excited.
And do you have the link up?
Hang on.
I know it went live. I think it was today, right?
Yeah, yesterday it went live.
Yesterday. Okay.
So early bird tickets are on sale now till
the 14th of January.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're doing it in a workshop format. That's my favorite. I hate,
Mhm.
I'll be honest with you, I love education stuff and I'll listen to speakers and all of that. But gosh, I always love it when we have those things where you're like, okay, you're going to fill out the form. This is the information you need. And I go home with, okay, guys, here we go. Because half the time I write all these notes and then I don't go back to them. But when I do workshops, I take a lot, like you said, actionable items back and just get started or communicate to them while we're there. So I love, love, love that format. It's something that I don't think very many organizations do. So other education organizations, many people give out, education information, but they don't actually show you how to implement it yourself.
Right.
Well, to be able to watch a presentation on a certain topic that's interactive and then go to a breakout session on that topic and work on it with the professionals there, that I just think is gold because it's a great way, like you said, Anna, to get those actionable tips and to think about how you're going to implement it. So you don't have to worry about getting home and setting out time. Like, okay, now I got to remember everything I took and all my notes and figure out how I'm going to do it. You can actually start that whole process while you're still at the workshop. So the link is there in the chat. And the other big thing that's coming up is on January 8th, we will open the registration for the 2024 daycare games, which, yay! If you have not done this with your staff, we highly encourage that you do this. It sparks a little sense of fun competition among your staff, but it also helps your staff come together as a team because you are competing against 100 other facilities around the world. Because we've had, teams from Canada, the UK, Australia, obviously the United States. So it's just always kind of fun to see who's closest to you. And in Alaska, we had somebody in Hawaii and we had somebody in Canada, and that was probably closer to us than the lower 48 states. So we always loved having that little edge of international competition. So, but there's 3 events that they compete in. There's the gate boundary exercise, the dog recall, and the group sit. And there's more information that'll be coming out about that to our whole email list. But definitely watch for that coming live on January 8th and so that you can get your team registered because we do limit it to 100 facilities. So you want to get in on that registration early. So.
How early do they have to purchase the cool t-shirts? Because we love those.
That's a good question. I don't think that there's a restriction on that in the store. Yeah, I think that they just make them to order when you place your order. So
yeah, my staff's already planning for it. I mean, they love that stuff. So
You're like, did you get my t-shirt size yet? Because I know that I'm going to get.
I have it on my phone. Like I have everyone's t-shirts.
We had a friend that was a graphic artist, and she used to draw. Well, Anna, you know, my original logo had those 3 little dog faces on it, and she used to make bodies for them and then draw them. Yeah, doing the different sports, you know. So like one year they're all jumping over hurdles, and one year all of the 3 dogs look like minions in the little overalls, and
Yeah.
fun. So we kind of have our own daycare game shirts every year. But
Didn't you do Super Bowl?
What's that?
Didn't you do Super Bowl?
Yeah, we should do the Super Bowl too. So yeah, there's a lot of things that you can do to help motivate your staff, but it's a downtime. You've just kind of come through the busy holiday season, and it's a great time to help them start practicing those great dog handler skills. So being able to do the group sits and the recall and the boundary, all of that will help them be a better dog handler. And if you've got staff that have done it year after year, they're great mentors for the new staff that are on board. So it's a great event overall, and it's just a lot of fun. So definitely figure out fun ways that you can do things. And we used to do cupcakes that had gold, silver, and bronze medals sticking out of the top, and you know, because there's always an excuse to have carbohydrates, right?
Carbs.
As the Christmas season starts, right? You like
Mhm.
people say you're worth your weight in gold. Yeah, well, daycare and lodging facilities are worth their weight in carbohydrates, because it seems like that's all that pet parents bring us is cookies and breads.
Yeah, especially this time of year.
Yep. Yeah. Like, ooh, a
All the
meat and
treats.
cheese platter would be great.
Somehow it all gets eaten at my place.
I know. Yeah, this is true.
Charcuterie, anyone?
You know,
The
they're
one thing
18. They don't worry about that stuff.
Yeah.
Some of them.
I am also going to post a link in the chat for our Facebook group that's called Grow Your Pet Care Business. That is a free to join group, and we only have 2 rules, and that's be nice and don't try to sell stuff. So that's in the chat as well. And if anybody else has something you want to add, otherwise we will wrap this up. And this will be our only Facebook Live for December of 2023. So we won't be back until the first week of January. But we were really happy to have all of the coaches join us, and have a happy holidays to everybody.
Yeah,
Happy
thanks for the
holidays.
invite.
Happy holidays.
Good luck,
Take care,
son.
everyone.